WhiskyJason here. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. And today I'm in Ireland, to be more specific, Pearse single malt Irish whiskey, cask strength, aged 5 years. So some of you may have found out or heard that that Pearse has actually released in July of 2018 their 5-year-old whiskey at 46%. 4,000 bottles actually went out into the public in Ireland in the summer of 2018. I was so fortunate to receive a bottle of the June 2017 cask strength edition, available only at the airports of Dublin and Cork in Ireland. 1,000 bottles. Each and every one of them, actually, look at that bottle. Isn't that just beautiful? I just totally enjoy this bottle here. It's like a decanter from Ecuador and so on. 59.3%, 5 years old, 120 euros. So we're talking about 150 bucks almost. Now, the late Dr. Pearse Lyons had the dream and the vision of 2011 to buy the old St. James Church in the Liberties. 9 people of his family actually have been buried in the cemetery there. He himself, as a 4-year-old boy, actually attended a funeral service at that church. He did not realize it at the moment when he bought it, but now he does after doing a lot of research. And finally, after over 5 years of converting the church into a distillery, it opened the Pearse Lyons Distillery in the Liberties in August of 2017. So this uses Irish malted barley. It uses a special strain of yeast because Dr. Pearse Lyons actually produced yeast in his company. And the thing is, I'm just going to actually just hold this up instead of putting in here a picture. These pot stills come from Kentucky, and they're now in Ireland. The big one is called the Mighty Molly with a reflux. That's that little, like a tulip bulb at the top. And the little one over to here on the other side is the Little Lizzie with 4 rectifying plates in there. So a little bit of combination of a pot still and a column still. Now these 2 pot stills were delivered to Ireland in 2012. And unfortunately, the building wasn't completed, so they set up their distillery outside of Dublin to the south, and they started distilling about 12 hours a day. And so they were distilling and laying down as many barrels as they could before they actually, I think it was in 2016, they opened up the roof of the church, lowered down with a crane both of these pot stills, totally worried about the wind. A gust of wind might actually damage one of them, but everything worked out just fine. They were lowered down into the church. The roof was then once again closed up, and then they maneuvered the pot stills all over the church while it was still being renovated until finally they found their rightful place up in the altar area where they now stand today. So 5 years ago they were distilling whiskey, and this is one of the very, very first barrels that they distilled. 1,000 bottles, a normal refill bourbon cask, and these are their own casks from the Town Branch Distillery in Lexington, Kentucky. Contains 200 liters. So usually we get about 200 bottles out of a barrel after 5 years, angel share and so on included. So for 1,000 bottles, they dumped basically 5 barrels. Might have been a little bit more, might have been 6, who knows, depends on the angel share. They do distill at 62.5% is what it goes into the barrel at, and so 59.3%, 5 barrels. Very, very low angel share, about a 1.5% per year, 1% per year there. Wow. All right, so I need to pour some, so it needs some time to breathe here. Beautiful, beautiful bottle, and I must admit also here the box. If you look up, there's a nice little, I can show the picture once again. This steeple here, is about 30 tons of steel, glass, and cement. And if you're in the church and you look up, it looks almost like this. You have the little, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, an octagon. And you have an octagon, you look up, and then you see here the patterns on the ceiling. And so this represents the steeple looking up, down from below. Very, very, very nice. Very well done there. Bottled straight from the cask, this 5-year-old single malt of unrivaled quality has been crafted with all the skillful passion that only family pride can instill. Matured in refill bourbon cask, aged for 5 years. Bottle number 758 of 1000. Authenticated by Gerald Cahill. I have a wonderful interview with Gerald on my site. Just look at that, one of the videos a couple weeks before this, as well as a distillery tour. Good. It's family that makes us. Let's talk about the whiskey. My nose. I get a little bit of a perfume almost. It's nice. Here's the Pearse. Here's the original, and what I really thought was interesting is they wanted to create a whiskey. They blended grain and malt that should replicate what will happen in the future. And I just want to pour a little bit in here, and I just want to nose this. And what is really, really fascinating is, I'll put this behind here so it looks beautiful, is they got the nose fairly spot on. Well done, well done, well done. Now, of course, the taste is different. This is a grain. Tastes a little bit different than this. Of course, this is cask strength. And this is the interesting thing. 59.3% and... What's really, really unique... I mean, it doesn't burn. It's just smooth and fine and nice. Well done. I had the 46% 5-year-old at the distillery, and I decided not to buy that and instead to buy the cask strength because I was hoping for something spectacular. It's good. This is a B whiskey. Almost a B plus, but not yet. It's B. It's a solid B, which is actually go buy it. An A in my category is why haven't you bought it? A C is you can buy it if you want. D is you don't have to buy it. And an F is why was it produced? Shame on you. But this is a solid B, which is nice. 120 euros, steep price. Don't forget, it's exclusive. 1,000 bottles worldwide, that's it. Only at the airport. Cask strength, initial release, and so on, so on, so on. So you're paying a price for this ornament. I'm sure many people are not going to open the bottle. I'm sure, and we're going to see things on the auction sites in the next years, and they're going to be passed on from person to person to person. Let's see if I can just do this like this. Ooh, that looks nice. All right. I just love the bottle. The bottle is beautiful. Now, one of the things that's very, very important here is that when they produce their whiskeys, they actually take the heart and they stretch it a tiny little bit further and take some of the tails with it to give it a deep character, a nice, strong, hearty type of moment. Now, not everyone likes that. I do like a good Irish whiskey. I do like a nice triple distilled, double distilled, light, fruity, smooth whiskey. This has a little bit of character. This has a little bit of a bite. This has a little bit of even almost a slight little punch to it. It's not a punch. It's more like a little elbow in the ribs here. And it's 59.3%. So I do get some pears in there. I do get a nice little bit of, whoops. Put a little bit of water in here, dilute it down to about 50%. It's unique. It's not typical Irish. It's not typical Scotch either. It's a typical, what can I say? It's a typical younger whiskey that has been matured in nice barrels. Let's not say nice, let's just say nice. Not great barrels, not terrible barrels, but nice barrels. Those barrels are from the town distillery, the town branch distillery from Lexington, Kentucky. Not everyone can say, hey, bring on over your own barrels. And this could be important in the future. which means they can actually in Ireland say, hey, guys over in Kentucky, we would like to have this or this or that. Whatever this or that is. We'd like to have a little bit longer, a little bit less toasted, a little bit more, and we can actually create the barrels for the Irish whiskey. Glenmorangie actually does that. They actually buy the barrels, produce the barrels, give them to a bourbon distillery in the States, let them use them for 4 to 8 years according to their conditions, and then they take the barrels over to Scotland, and that's what they want. And the Americans basically just lease the barrels, which is a crazy, crazy concept, but it works out just fine. And they could do very, very much the same. I really get that. It's a creme brulee that's been on the fire a little bit too long. It's burnt caramel. I get some pear. I get a little bit actually of like overripe watermelon. I get a little bit of barley in there. And what I really, really think I'm getting is wet bourbon barrels. It says refill, and that really kind of confuses me. I would have had first fill barrel, bourbon barrel. It says refill bourbon barrel. So what was in them before? Is it really the first bourbon and then something else and then a refill bourbon? Or is it just a problem? Sorry, I kicked the camera. Is it just a problem here with the with my definition and their understanding also that word? So one last time. So if I go over here. Totally different spirit. But they did get the nose. They captured the nose very well. It's an artificial cork. Nice little design here and so on. I especially like the design here of the bottle up above with that little relief. Nice. So the last thing I'm going to do, I did this in my German video as well. I'm going to dilute it. Now, the sign of a great whiskey is I put it down around 30%, and does it still taste wonderful? That's one of the things I like to do. I still get that perfumed floral note at the beginning, but then that fuzzle alcohols do kick in. That's what happens when you let the cut. You have the heads, you have the tails, and you go into the tails just a little bit. It really does earn the B to almost the B plus. But it's not complex per se. It's I've used this example a few times of playing the piano. You can have like 8 different tones together, da 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 da, or you can have like 2, da da, and this like 4. You have that burnt creme brulee, you have the wood bourbon, you have the malt, and you have a little bit of the alcohol, but yet I must admit they did a great job of actually aging this. This is wonderful. And that's it. And it doesn't really, there's no transitions. I might have to add a fifth thing, a little bit of that, the tails. The fuzzle alcohols are in there. The tails are just a little bit evident as well. But other than that, it doesn't really do much after it's in your mouth. But it is a nice texture. It's very oily. It's very nice. It's a B. It's a solid B. Value for money, it's more of a C minus because it's an ornament, because it's a collector's item. It's a one-off thing at the very beginning. They could have auctioned it off. Some of the places actually in Scotland now are putting their first 100 bottles online, and then they're auctioning, and they're going for prices exceeding £800 per bottle. Next time, if you have a distillery and the first time you bring on your own stuff, why not do that instead of doing the airport where only people in Ireland could get it? People on auction sites could be all over the world, and that may be actually a better place. The one place that just did it up in the borderlands, I think, they actually had a great amount of publicity because of that. And yet here, very, very little publicity about the release of the Pearse Lyons. marketing could be a tiny little bit better in the worldwide area. All right, Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of American in Germany. Pleasantly not surprised, but I'm pleased with this 5-year release. Smooth for 59.3%. Wonderfully done. Great. Little bit too much of the heads in there for my personal preference, but yet it's good. It's not your typical Irish. It's a little bit stronger, a little bit more up in your face, but it's going to be interesting to see what they also produce in the future. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and tell others about this crazy American. My question of the day is, what is your favorite cask strength Irish whiskey? I'm going to say it is the Redbreast 12-year-old. Something you can get. It's also from Boyne, which is a German independent bottler, and cask strength, as well as from Irish-whiskies.de. Black Rock, she also brought out Mareike Spitzer, also brought out two different 14 and the 15-year-old. One is a double and one is a triple distilled cask strength whiskeys. Very, very nice. I like good cask strength Irish whiskeys. So this is the first time in 125 years that there's been a 5-year-old cask strength Irish whiskey in the market. Thank you very much for that. Okay, Whiskey Jason here. See you on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. All the best. Bye-bye.